Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of jbiztechvalley.com and Statewide News Service.
Well, Rabbi, we have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Susan Axelrod. She's from Clifton Park. She's an independent fundraising consultant and philanthropy advisor.
Yeah.
And welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much.
I really want to hear really what you have to say and what you try to do to help people. You have a website, What Will Your Legacy Be?
Yes, I do.
So maybe we could start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today. I started out working in the world of fundraising, talking to people about money, trying to get money to help worthy organizations. And over time, my messaging has changed from just getting money from people to understanding that when we offer an opportunity to someone about something they care deeply about, that's when we're talking about philanthropy. Over time, I started thinking about the extension, the legacy that we leave. And in 2004, I just put that very simple phrase on a business card. It just said, "What will your legacy be?" And it started resonating with people. And every person I came in contact with and handed my business card, there was just this little, what will my legacy be? Mm-hmm. And so it evolved from there. And now I work with all kinds of people, individuals, advisors, philanthropists, nonprofit organizations, helping them to understand the world of philanthropy.
So are you in the role of like the Ron Lauders of the world, or are you in a mid-level type?
My work resonates most with smaller organizations. These people just find me. I call them founders. They're founders. They're people who have this deep, burning, interest and need, a passion to make their mission happen.
Right.
So
there's money in them thar hills, is what I always say to people. And when you see these names on buildings that you say, who is this person? Why is that happening? How did they connect with that person?
Right.
And this is, maybe you're the conduit to maybe connecting.
Sometimes.
Also, when Mark was saying Ron Lumber, but just saying, are you talking about a person who has $1 million and giving it in their will to a foundation?
I do many things.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I do that touches every person is to help people understand that there's very few people who have those mega millions, right? There's only 1%, right, of the people who have the most. Mm-hmm. Everyone else has an opportunity to make a difference. Right. Yes, there are various tools and techniques that you can use, like simply putting an organization in your will. It's a very simple thing to do, and I strongly encourage people to do that. There's other ways to do it. The important thing first is to figure out what matters to you. So at some point, the person whose name is put on a building, somewhere earlier in the process, there was a connection and a conversation about that organization and why that person, is connected and how they feel about that organization. Mm-hmm. It's a mistake that a lot of organizations make, is that they see the names on a building and then they go after that person because they're rich. And I say, no, go into your own organization's, group of people who care about you and connect with them and find people internally whom you can grow over time. And there's, like you said, mm-hmm. there is money. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who have resources who really would do very generous things if you help them do it the right way.
So, for example, what would you get with, I guess from experience from talking to people, hey, I do have money, but hey, I have children and grandchildren. I want to give it to them. I don't want to give away such a big sum into charity when I have family to take care of.
Right. We want you to take care of family. And even before that, we want you to take care of yourself, right? Your own health and your own potential future, and we want you to take care of your family. When you have explored a philanthropic passion and you want to figure out how you can do that, Then there's a conversation to be had. Well, maybe you can use life insurance. Maybe what you can do is leave specific things to your family and provide for them and still do something for that organization or cause that you care so deeply about. So yes, we want you to take care of yourself and provide, plan for your future and take care of your family, but there probably will be other resources that you can access.
Do you ever put a percentage on it for Jew, because the Jewish view, so the Jewish view, of course, is 10% a tithe to charity. You say, hey, listen, I know there's a lot of things, but 10% should go to some nonprofit organization.
I don't use the word should.
Really?
So I don't use the word should because that doesn't feel good to people. If we can figure out that thing, because even within everything Jewish, there are schools and there are seniors and there are programs, there's community centers, there's all kinds of things. Slice and dice it however you want. And if we can have a conversation and I find out, speaking for myself, I have a personal philanthropic passion to help our Jewish daughters become Jewish mothers. So that doesn't mean I don't like boys. It doesn't mean I don't care about this or that or another thing.
Right.
That just means that I've, used a formula that I created myself, and I figured out what I really care about. So when you get to that piece of the conversation, then you can say, and how might you like to impact that? Might you consider tithing to support that thing that you care so much about? When you use should, it's like imposing.
It's interesting, all right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good
So
lesson over
words-
here. I learned something too today.
Yeah, good.
Words matter.
Words matter. The connection matters. The connection to the heart really matters.
Let me ask you about the difference between for-profit and not-for-profits. Do people contribute money to for-profit organizations? Is that an oddity, that what I'm asking, or is
Well,
there
what type of organization are you referring to when you say a for-profit, a business? I mean, what type of organization?
Let's say a business that's a for-profit
Right,
business.
no, a business produces goods and services and they make money and generate profit and cannot offer a tax deduction.
Right.
Right. But a nonprofit is, and there are businesses with social causes.
Right.
I mean, there are businesses like Tom's and, both Tom's of Maine and Tom's Shoes, Ben and Jerry's,
Ben and Jerry's, yeah.
Newman's Own. There are businesses that have a social consciousness.
So on a for-profit side, you would invest and get stock in return, and not your name up on the building or a
That's
wing
right.
or something.
That's right.
You would get the
business has the name on the building.
Well,
That's
the business
right.
has the name, but you wouldn't have, let's say, the wing of, you would just I just want to make it clear for the audience
Yeah.
that this is not something.
We're in the nonprofit sector.
So this is all the
Right.
nonprofit sector.
We're in the nonprofit sector.
Okay.
Now,
How weird is it for a for-profit organization to go out and solicit money, or is it for advertising?
there's businesses
Right.
do not solicit
For
money do not solicit donations. They may get advertising.
Even
and
startups?
that's seed. That's angel seed capital
Right.
investment. That's not donations. That's not what we're talking about
but
at all.
I'm just asking, is that something that, for what you do, can we dovetail and learn something from that, so startup businesses can get seed money and capital and venture capital in the same type of way that you're saying tugs at the heartstrings
since you
and has a
mention
connection?
it, I happen to just have a skill to be able to creatively use strategy to help businesses in their marketing and growth.
Okay.
It's not something I talk about. But because basically, yes, Mark, it is the same.
Okay.
It really is. If you want to talk about a startup business, then I would say to them, which is not a nonprofit, then I would say to them, really, who out there feels, deeply, strongly, passionately about the product or service that you're providing. And it behooves you to spend time on this messaging, right? Internally first, it behooves you to spend time asking yourselves that question. Now, we're on a little bit of a tangent, but target marketing is kind of old, right? With the whole internet, with all the content that's out there, it's really no longer just about having that single niche target market, right? Because now we have the entire universe available to us using free tools. But it does behoove you to still really contemplate who cares the most about what we do. That's new business development.
Okay.
That's a different conversation,
Right. Okay.
although the strategies apply.
I thought I'd bring it up just because
Hey.
there might be someone out there wondering, gee, I got a business, she's talking about raising money, how do I dovetail with this? So,
Right.
But if you want to go back to the...
Well, let me
sure.
say that regarding the many people out there who are starting businesses, I teach building philanthropy into your business model.
Uh-huh.
So how you get your seed funding, how you plan for that, how you attract it, how you close those deals, that has to do with relationship building and some luck. But if you build philanthropy into the base of your business model, if we're talking about business, your business will grow faster and grow stronger. Because, and we see it, like I mentioned, on some of those companies, and there's many
Sure.
examples of it. People want to support businesses that have
A social contract.
That's right.
It's very interesting. So they intrinsically put in their shares 10% of our profits, or whatever number that you want
They
to put.
can intrinsically, that would be a hard sell because the business needs the full money to grow, but there may be a much smaller percent, or there may be a commitment that a percent of our profit, is designated to
Right.
this cause, which inherently, it's like Tom's shoes.
Right.
To this cause, which is putting shoes on the feet of children in Africa, right?
Okay.
You buy a pair of shoes, we take a piece of it and we put shoes on the children, the feet of the
The
children in
needy, right.
Africa. Now, this is very important. I want to be clear. We're talking about nonprofits. Nonprofits
Okay.
can make a profit.
That's 5% over zero, right? There's a limit of how much they can...
No,
New York
there's-
State, they're...
No, you're talking about how much to spend on endowment. Nonprofits can make, if it's, they're allowed to have,
Right.
to be able to make profit. I just want to make clear to our listeners,
Right.
our viewers, that the use of the word nonprofit, a lot of people think they're not allowed to make profit.
Right.
They have to have a
be in
zero
debt.
balance.
Or be in debt, yeah.
Right, or be in debt, right. But that's not at all true. I mean, look at a place like Harvard, which is a nonprofit. Look at a place like the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Look at, many, the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Very large organizations have lots and lots, plenty of profit. What you do with the profit is serve your mission, right? You
And not give it to the shareholders.
That's
and
right, right.
dividends.
And you don't give it to your donors, right?
Yeah.
You grow your mission. So that's an important point to make. Now, since we're talking about businesses, it's an interesting point to have these nonprofit organizations partner with businesses.
Yeah.
Right?
And they do. Yeah.
And for startups, that's another way to broaden your exposure and create greater interest in your concept, in your business concept, is to find a worthy, strong nonprofit organization to partner with. Again, that's just one of those strategies that...
No, that's very, very true.
that
and
I
I've
bring.
seen that, and
Right.
that's really terrific. And then all these, that's why when you see like a Freihofer's Run for Women, which might be a not-for-profit, you have a lot of corporate sponsorships.
Right. Well, Freihofer's is a business, right? But the Run for Women...
Is a nonprofit end of the
They
business.
created something,
Right.
right? They created a
How much does it cost to become a not-for-profit in terms of legal costs, paperwork, filings, all that? Is it $800? Someone told me $800 or something.
No, it costs $800 to register with the state as a professional fundraising consultant. That's where the $800 comes in. You hit a subject matter that I have a lot to say about.
Oh, well, go right ahead. We got time.
Not that much time, Mark, over here.
You asked how much does it cost to become a nonprofit?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know. There are legal fees,
Right.
you know, there's some filing fee, you know, you have to pay a lawyer, there's some filing fees, you know, I don't know what exactly it costs.
Ballpark, approximately.
I don't even know.
If it's 10,000 or if it's 1,000 or
No,
nothing?
it's not.
Okay.
It's not 10,000.
Okay.
It's not anywhere
Let's-
near 10,000,
Okay.
and that's a problem. There are nearly 1.5 million nonprofits in the country today. It's easy and inexpensive, and frankly, the IRS just recently made it a little easier to start a new nonprofit. The problem with all these nonprofits starting, and the problem with having it be relatively inexpensive and relatively easy, although it takes some time, there's a time element involved, is that people start up these organizations without the least understanding or training to run a
nonprofit
productive,
properly. Yeah.
right, to run a nonprofit properly. A productive, you know, fiscally prudent, effective organization. I always encourage people not to start up nonprofits. People call me all the time. They have this idea, or they want to ask me, you know, how do I go about doing this? And I say to them, please start a business instead.
Right.
Please start a business.
Okay.
And then you can give to that cause. You can have a subsidiary foundation,
Right.
You know, where you channel the money, some of your profit, and then you can give and support that
Right.
cause that you care so much about that you want to start up a nonprofit organization. Why? I coined a syndrome for these nonprofits. I call it limping and languishing.
Languishing. Languishing?
Limping and languishing.
Languishing,
It's
okay.
just a
Okay.
syndrome that I called. I call it limping and languishing.
Okay.
Most organizations, you know, and I definitely mean most organizations, do not have a strong, you know, leader at the helm who is skilled and trained in the needs of running a nonprofit, the first of which is fundraising. So now I created a new service line called Confident Fundraising to personally coach nonprofit CEOs in high-level personal solicitation strategy, because over and over and over for years and years, it came to my attention and people talked to me that they don't know how to do this. But yet they started a nonprofit organization, which is often based on fundraising in part, right? Unless you have a corporate subsidiary, which is a profit-making
Right.
subsidiary. I don't want to get too technical here,
No.
but that's allowed.
Right.
Nonprofits are allowed to have a corporate subsidiary with a mission-related product or service. So teachers, social workers, ministers, forgive me, rabbis, all kinds of people, good-hearted, pure-hearted people start up these organizations with the very best intentions, the very best moral and ethical intentions, but lacking a primary skill.
And then they scratch their heads and they say, why am I not raising money?
It happened
Right.
to me today on the phone. It happened this very day. I was speaking with somebody who had, you know, has been a long-time executive director. Why can't I get gifts of more than $100? And in part, it's because they're not trained to get gifts of more than $100. So this whole idea of how easy and relatively inexpensive it is to start up a nonprofit organization is a detriment. It's literally undermining the fabric of our society, as so many nonprofits are created, but limp and languish because they don't have well-trained CEOs in fundraising, and they don't have board members, we could talk forever about that, who are willing to, be involved in the fundraising and do all that it takes to be a good nonprofit board member. And they're diluting those people who do tithe, right?
Yeah, right.
And they're giving their precious resources. They're diluting the potential of those resources by not using them well.
The synagogue in Brooklyn that I was bar mitzvahed at, in order to be on their board, you have to give a certain amount of money for the privilege to sit on the board and get agita over how everything is being run. But it's just very interesting how you have a sector that really doesn't, they scratch their heads and they say, I can't understand this. And I always say, and forgive me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, but I always say it's all about the list. It's all about who you're asking. So for example, if you're a Jewish organization asking Christians, you're not going to probably get what you can if you're a Jewish organization asking people who have an affinity, Jewish or not, an affinity with a Jewish organization. You have to have the right list. In politics, which I'm well versed in, I was working as the executive director of the Albany County Republican Committee. And this goes back many years. And George Scaringe, who was the chairman, said, now this is not a not-for-profit, this is a political organization, but he said, in the 30 years that I've been a chairman, no one has ever given me a single check for $1,000. And I'm raising money and I'm getting there. And so he says, put together a program, and see what we can get. So I put together the Republican Leadership Council, and I sent out probably a few hundred letters, and $33,000 checks came in like that. $33,000. He was floored. The next year it doubled because everyone wanted to know what was so special about this little club.
Right.
So everyone came in and they said, George was like, how did you do this? I don't understand. No one's ever given me $1,000.
Right.
Susan, do you have a philosophy that you can bring it down to? Maybe time for a graphic that our audience could look at and teach everybody a little bit about this.
I do, and it also speaks to what you were asking about. Over the last several years that I have been communicating this message about connecting, finding the people who care the most and connecting with those people, I created a formula. I call it the Philanthropy Formula. The Philanthropy Formula is C plus C plus A equals C. So I will just walk you through the Philanthropy Formula, and I'm going to touch on what you just talked about with the list. So the first C is really the most important. The first C stands for care.
Yeah.
The first C stands for care. What do people care about? What do you care deeply about? And the deeply is really from your heart. And so you talk about the list, I talk about the people and what is it, where are the people who care so deeply about your mission or cause or purpose. When I work with individuals, this is the work that I do. I ask them to think and feel deeply and figure out what's important to them. It's a presumption that only Jews care about what's going on in a Jewish organization.
Well, that's why I said whether they be Christian or Jews, they need to be caring about Jewish organization.
Right. And so once you figure out what you care deeply about, the next C is for commit. You have to have a personal commitment to that thing. And that is a deep-seated emotional commitment to the thing you care about. Now, the A stands for action. And this is the piece where most people fall short. Most people just think things, they really don't do things.
That's right.
They don't take action. And so when you figure out what matters deeply to you and you really commit to it, then you're more motivated and you take an action. And the action might be tithing, if that's what we're talking about, or the action might be connecting in some way with the organization. The action might be giving monthly. This is a strategy that I talk about, with people. Many people can really afford to give $10 a month on their credit card or from their bank account. Talk about $1,000 annually, that's $83.33 a month. And a lot of people could really take that action. And that's something that I'm really happy to have the opportunity to share with your viewers, that if they really think about it, the action of committing your credit card, $83.33 a month,
Yeah.
you could probably do that, or at least possibly do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that will total at the end of the year $1,000 that
Right.
you're committing. The last C at the end of the equation is for creating change. The C is for change. Most people have a deep yearning to really create positive change in our world. People want to create change. They want to have impact. And they want to know that that impact will be felt and that they will be remembered.
You're not talking about change.
I'm not talking about that change, no.
I got change
Believe
here.
me, I'm not talking about that change.
That's your big donation mark over
I'm
here.
talking about creating positive change in our world. And that's something that now we're talking about legacy. So the philanthropy formula that I work through with people leads me to the piece of the conversation where I say to them, how do you want to be remembered? And then I say to them, how will you be remembered? And the work that I do is crossing the bridge from how do you want to be remembered to how will you be remembered. If you don't commit to that, if you don't figure out what you care about and commit to that thing you care about and take that action, will you really be remembered the way you want to be? If you go through this formula, if you figure out what matters deeply, whatever it is to you, because I'm lucky, I work independently, I don't sell causes.
Right.
I mean, I have my own philanthropic passion I raise
Sure.
money for. I'm on a board, the American Youth Literacy Foundation. I raise money for that. As a board member, that's what I do, right? But in my work, I don't have to push causes. I don't have to tell anybody you should anything.
So people hire you, how do you work? Saying, hey, or you're recommended from a financial advisor, consultant.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah. Different ways. People find me all over the internet. They're linking with me through LinkedIn.
Right.
They're finding me on Facebook, etc. I get hired as a coach, as I mentioned, for nonprofit CEOs, also college deans who have to raise money. They hire me and they pay me personally, not a life coach, a personal fundraising coach. Financial advisors find me and they hire me to work with their clients and sometimes to do speaking. I'm a paid professional motivational speaker, so they can bring me in as a speaker for their customers and clients, or just pay me personally as a philanthropy advisor to help them speak to their clients about philanthropy and incorporate philanthropy into their plan.
And again, someone who has $1 million saying, hey, I want to give some, they would give you some as a coach or a percentage?
No, I don't work on any percentages.
Right,
I get
right.
paid fees,
That's right.
and I teach and I advise, and then they pay me with whatever resources they have, and then they make donations with their resources.
Quick question for you. What will your legacy be personally?
My personal philanthropic passion is to help our Jewish daughters become Jewish mothers. And I'm so proud to be working with Nechama Labor, with the Jewish Girls Retreat and Jewish Girls Unite on an ongoing pro bono basis, which is my commitment. The work that she's doing is powerful with our Jewish daughters, and all of our daughters need help and love and attention. And that really will be a big part of my legacy.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
that's great.
Thank you,
Okay.
Susan, very much. I hope our viewers enjoyed it as much as us, because this is something that really gives satisfaction, fulfillment to their lives.
And we have to have you back soon because this was really informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.